thanks very much for joining us today. I had the pleasure of meeting you back in 2012 at KCC in Budapest. You know, even though you're a local Australian just like myself, it's the distance between Brisbane and Perth, I guess, that makes it that, you know, you never get to meet people using ArchiCAD. You know, the stuff that you guys were talking back about in 2012 was quite interesting, and I guess we got to touch base again in Budapest in 2014 again for KCC this year, or last year now. And some of the stuff you were talking to me about really excited me, and stuff that you guys are doing. So first of all, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and Weber?
Okay, I've been using ArchiCAD for about 20 years now, and started off using it predominantly in small residential work in my own practice. Went to eventually work for Spowers, who then merged with Hassel, so I got involved in some very large projects using ArchiCAD over time. In 2012, I left Hassel and have now joined up with Weber Australia. And Weber concentrated primarily in the documentation and delivery end of an architectural design project, and have had a lot of experience on site with the construction companies. Our clients are construction companies.
So it's in a sense, I guess, Weber is a very unique practice in terms of the service that it provides for builders, but I guess, you know, there's an obvious need for it as we move and change to a BIM environment.
That's right. I think as a general criticism of the architectural profession, I think we've forgotten how to document a lot, or choose not to in some instances with some of the larger companies in particular. And it opens up a fairly interesting niche market for us at Weber's, because the construction guys, they need the very good documentation on site. They also now have tuned into BIM in a big way and realized that they actually stand to make a lot of money from doing it right in BIM. And but to do that, they need to have very good base information and data, and come to us now for what we're terming construction caliber models, which are far more focused on the construction process than the design process.
So I guess the main reason, while we're talking, the main reason I wanted to actually invite you to ARCHICON to present, when we were in Budapest, there was a lot of talk about the way that you guys are using BIM Docs, and in my opinion, I think you're using BIM Docs in a way that probably no one else in the world is, in terms of, I think, you know, you're leading the world in the way that you're actually doing it. I guess, what has been the response? You know, some of the things that you talked about at KCC was the response you're receiving from contractors. And, you know, first of all, what's the response you've received from the contractors? And then second of all, what difference has that as a tool made to your business because of the way that you're actually pushing it past its limits, essentially?
Yeah, well, it was quite a shock to us how excited and how quickly the construction guys grabbed a hold of this idea and ran with it. We thought it would be the usual sort of process of, that looks interesting, we'll think about it next time, sort of thing. Within a week of seeing it, they had rushed out on a particular site in Melbourne, rushed out and bought 20 iPads. And a week later, they were asking us, well, okay, that's all very well doing architectural documentation this way. What about all the other documentation on site? Can we get it all onto the iPad as well? And that led us to coming up with a way of actually dragging it through ArchiCAD into BIMX from all the different platforms. And what it meant in the long run is that they are now able to actually identify a dollar value that has saved them on site, where they can actually say from their data that they are recording that it's saving them about 20% of the cost of foreman on site, which is a pretty huge number, actually. So the way they work it out was basically they calculate how many queries per day they get to their foreman and how long it takes them to answer each query. And the general turnaround time is about 20 minutes to walk down off the building, because these are massive buildings, walk down off the building to the site hut, dig out the information, working through all the old plan sets, and then go back up to the subcontractor who asked the question and close it out. And they have 3 foremen on this particular project, and they're each doing 3 or 4 of these a day. So you can imagine the amount of time that was wasting, and this just absolutely removed that problem completely for them. So it was kind of a problem we didn't really realize they had, and once they saw a solution, they just absolutely grabbed it.
Yeah, so it's essentially just, you know, being given a problem like a traditional architect would, and finding an answer to it, and essentially BIM Docs has given you the ability through the technology to do that. I guess one thing that is really important to note, you're not a one-trick pony. You know, BIM Docs is really just one of the magical tools of BIM that you guys are using as part of your business to deliver your BIM deliverables and obviously perform really well at that high level in your unique kind of business position. You're also one of the masters, I guess, of Celebri, and you guys also are very powerful users of Vico. How is that helping your business, I guess, and the connections with ArchiCAD?
Well, just talking about Vico firstly, the construction guys we're working with are very keen to do what everyone talks about as 4D and 5D, costing and scheduling, and from the models. And to that end, we realized that we could all talk about making good models and handing them over to people to go and do work, do stuff with and calculate quantities and so on from. But we realized unless we knew how to do it ourselves and could actually show and demonstrate to these builders that we could actually help them pull off really accurate quantities, we could actually show them how to do some pretty accurate scheduling and show them some benefits in shortening programs and so on. Until we knew how to do that ourselves, we couldn't really know exactly how to prepare our models for that sort of process. And that was probably the biggest thing we've learned from being involved in Vico, is that the modeling is quite different to what we've normally done. But it's quite, by the same token, it's quite, it basically a lot of stuff falls into place for us in terms of how we model. As far as Celebri goes, we've always been big fans of Celebri because clearly with a construction caliber requirement, quality is absolutely key, because every little bit of model you're making has a dollar value on site, and everybody's nuts are on the line here in terms of doing this stuff. And if we don't get it right, or there's a mistake, it's going to be pretty bad on the other end. So we're using Celebri internally to review our own work, but we're also offering the service to our construction clients to do the BIM coordination role. In our traditional commissioning, we are always commissioned to do consultant coordination as part of our normal service on site in the construction end of the process. What we're saying to them now is, okay, we want to do that via BIM now, and you will therefore need to be able to pressurize your consultants and subcontractors to supplying us models that are able to be used like this, and has to be IFC, of course, for Celebri. And their reactions have been extremely positive, to the point where we've been training them how to use Celebri Viewer on site, and they're using it as a viewing tool to wander around and discuss various construction problems on site.
What would you expect, I guess, from people to take away from your presentation when they come to ARCHICON in May?
I think probably because of what we do is a bit different in the sense that we're doing mostly large buildings. We're sort of, our sweet spots in the 80 to 400 million range, so we're talking big buildings exclusively. And also the construction end of the process. We're on site. I mean, I spent 5 weeks in the site hut teaching the guys how to get involved in Vico, and in fact learning how to use Vico ourselves actually. So it's a bit about, I think hopefully they'll get a sense of what's going on site, on the sites, what are the construction companies looking for and so on. So that's probably what I bring to the table.
Colin, thanks very much for your time today. I'm really looking forward to your presentation in May. I think it'll, I guess, give an insight for most of the attendees about what the big end of town is doing right now in some of our states, and what we normally see is that, you know, that the big end of town is the leader, and then it takes a couple of years to trickle down through the system in terms of what people will be expected to deliver in the next couple of years. So just one final question, and I guess this is my favourite question to ask everyone at the end of our interviews. What is your favourite ArchiCAD tool?
Well, that's an interesting question. I actually don't have a favourite tool, but I have a favourite process, and that has to be the BIM server.
The BIM server.
because given the way web is structured, we are scattered all over the country. We use outside help from guys that are sitting in other parts of the world. BIM server, if we didn't have a BIM server, we wouldn't exist.
It's always exciting when I hear all the different responses I get from everyone. Anyway, Colin, thanks very much for your time today, mate, and we'll see you here in Brisbane in May.
Great, see you there.